Breaking today, growing fears for the health of King Charles as the monarch continues to keep a very low profile, letting other popular members of the royal family put its best foot forward, including Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who today made a glorious appearance. And wow, she did look absolutely resplendent in cream. But of course, it doesn't take away from the growing concerns that the monarch may be unable to continue in his role long term. Lady Colin Campbell is with me now. She has the latest on this. Lady C, so great to see you. And of course, it was wonderful seeing Catherine today, and we know that she is the best of the British royal family. But behind the scenes, Lady C, I am hearing growing concerns about King Charles, who continues to undergo cancer treatment. And of course, the stress around the arrest of his brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has made things even more difficult. What's the latest?
Well, Dan, I think we need to tread very carefully with this. And I know you will understand why we both want to tread carefully. But I was told a few weeks ago that all of the Andrew thing, and this came from a senior member of this royal family, that they were all beside themselves and that it had really affected all of them, but in particular the king pretty severely. And he has been struggling. And I don't understand why people would think that somebody who was as ill as he is would not be struggling, considering the tremendous pressure that he has been under, some of which I have to say I think is totally unnecessary, because you have various supporters of the monarchy wading in very unhelpfully and making recommendations that are totally unrealistic and that may get them column inches or clicks, but really simply pile pressure on the king, and in a very destructive way. And of course, he's now had to he's having to recharge his batteries, to be gentle about it all. It's obviously he is not in a good place physically, and there's no way that all the stresses that he's under, and some of them are quite unnecessary. And, I get that some are necessary, but some are totally unnecessary. And I'm actually appalled at the way certain people have been behaving. But the less said about that, I suppose, the better.
And Lady C, the reality is that in the final years of the late Queen Elizabeth II's reign, we would see her disappear from the spotlight for lengthy periods in order to focus on her health, to re-energise, where Charles was sort of an unofficial regent. Obviously, the Queen never even considered abdication, but he sort of ran things behind the scenes so that she could focus on her health. Do you see a similar thing happening here with Charles and William, or are we not at that point yet?
Oh, no, I think it's already started. I think it's a very softly approach. But, William is given far more latitude and far more gravitas than he would have been given had his father been in robust good health, and had they been expecting that his father would have, say, 20-year reign. So, no, it's already started, and William has far more influence than he would have had Charles been healthier.
Lady C, we obviously see the positive side of the British monarchy. There are a couple of things I wanted to chat about in Charles's absence. First, I think really delightful. I don't know what you thought, but seeing Prince William and Princess Anne out together. I wish this is something we could see more. It just really worked for me. Watch this.
No schoolwork? No. It's all this exam time, mustn't it? Sun's out, exactly. Yeah. Have you got sport this afternoon? Yeah. Football, rugby, what have you got? Netball. A match or just inter-school stuff? Yeah, match. Good luck. Thank you. Glorious.
I mean, that was just so great, wasn't it, Lady C?
Well, this is what we need, and we need more of it, you know?
Yeah. I think we're going to see more of it because she's the secret weapon, and I think William knows it.
Well, she certainly has, you know, earned a very great deal of respect from people worldwide, and she's also very popular. So she doesn't only have respect, she has popularity. And of course, she has gravitas because she's been around for over half a century, and she's never put a foot wrong unless you dislike swearing, in which case, of course, she's put many a foot wrong as she's told people to naff off, naff beginning with an F.
No, I love it. And then Catherine today was quite something, Lady C. I mean, do you remember when a whole load of people were saying, oh, we're never going to see Catherine return to full-time public duties, and she's questioning whether she actually wants to be a royal. I mean, come on. Actually, I would argue that since her treatment, there is so much more confidence in the public role of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She's enjoying what she's doing, and it is very important at the moment. I need you to do something for me right now. It is free, it is easy, it is simple. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But you know, when you face your mortality and you realize that you might only have a few months or a few years left, and of course you might have 30 or 40 or 50 years left, but you might equally have only 5 or 10, you realize what's important and what isn't. And a lot of the dross falls away and you embrace that which is important to you. And I think her role as, first of all, Duchess of Cambridge and now Princess of Wales, because she knew she would end up being Princess of Wales one of these days, and hopefully Queen. Well, of course, with the cancer diagnosis, all of a sudden that was more of a hope than a certainty. And she's realized that she loves her royal role, but so does Charles, and so did the Queen. It's interesting that she really loves her royal role, because not all consorts have loved their royal roles. I mean, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, absolutely adored it, and so did Queen Mary. But, you know, there have been consorts who had rather more, shall we say, reserved attitudes to being a public consort, such as Queen Alexandra.
It's so true. It is so true. I really do think she does love that role. There is absolutely no desire for her to step ahead of her husband in any way, but also when she is in an event like Leicester today, things just seem to work. Now, Lady C, that's the positive. The negative, of course, is that there are also fears for the mental health now of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I know some people don't say that is a concern, but I mean, I absolutely do, because the last thing we want in this scenario is another unaliving, another so-called suicide, which is what we saw with Jeffrey Epstein, even though I do not believe for a single second that that man took his own life. But I just want to show you what Andrew Lowney, the author of Entitled, has said about this, because he says that ex-Prince Andrew is now on suicide watch. Look at this.
temporary home at Sandringham at the weekend. The King's domestic chaplain. The headline is "Confess Any Sins." The ex-Duke sees the Sandringham priest a few hours before the King. What's he confessing his sins, Andrew, do you think, or looking for divine inspiration of how to get out of the hole he made?
Well, who knows? I mean, he may be finding religion now. I think it's just they've taken pity on him. I mean, no one else is visiting him, so I suppose the local vicar should.
Do you think that, genuinely I like your point, because we read about Fergie, she's in some wellness clinic talking about mental illness and everybody's out to get me. You've got to paint the picture of this guy sat on his own in Sandringham, and I'm going to ask the question that everybody will probably get upset about, and you can dump it if you want. I suspect there are many people who are feeling he's so ostracised he can't even go horse riding. Are they worried about his mental health and what he might do to himself?
Well, that's been a message from the palace for a long time, even when my book came out in August, that he was on suicide watch. I mean, everything I'm told from people close to him until very recently was that he still hasn't really sort of understood the seriousness of what he did and his position. He's more concerned about where he's going to park his car.
Lady C, are you concerned about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor getting through this?
To an extent, yes. I think that there has been a tremendous pile-on, and let's remember, he has actually not been charged with any crime, nor has he actually been, well, he's been accused of crimes, but upon closer examination, none of the crimes that he has been accused of is likely to stand up in a court of law. And let us remember that this whole recent saga is nothing to do with Epstein and his friendship with Epstein. It is to do with, well, when I say that, I mean in a carnal manner. It is to do with his position as a trade envoy. But, you know, misconduct in public office is notoriously difficult to prove, even when somebody is assigned a particular role that is very clearly delineated. Andrew's role was not clearly delineated. Andrew was not paid. I have said all along that both Andrew and Peter Mandelson will most likely be able to run defenses of that they were consulting somebody who was a greater financial expert than they were, and that they would be able to do this with some validity. There is a tremendous amount of hysteria that surrounds anything to do with Andrew and his association with Epstein in a way that I find, as a Briton, deeply disturbing, because the Americans do not have a similar reaction with regard to Bill Clinton, who had a far closer relationship with Epstein than Andrew ever did. And, you know, none of the Americans is treated to the tremendous pressure and the tremendous weighting of you are guilty until proven innocent that the Britons have been, in particular Andrew. And we also need to remember that a lot of Andrew's non-trade envoy difficulties were created by David Boies, who was President Clinton's lawyer and who was a pro bono lawyer to try to entrap Andrew so that for the benefit of Hillary Clinton. And if you look at what some of the files reveal, for instance, the role of Christopher Steele in the Russian nonsense, where the Russian dossier. This has been proven to be a total fabrication. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned about such wrongdoing as took place with Jeffrey Epstein. But let's be clear about the fact that President Clinton made it absolutely clear that he had no idea of Jeffrey Epstein's improprieties in a carnal sense. And that actually supports something that I have been saying for years, which is that Jeffrey Epstein was a hate figure in our circle because he tried to steal my son Dima's godmother's flat from under her in Belgravia in the early 1980s. And even we, who absolutely loathed him and would have delighted in exposing him, and we certainly went out of our way to expose him as being the crook he was, but none of us knew that he was the pervert that he was. And Clinton was making the point that he didn't know that he was the pervert that he was either. And Epstein, in the files, which have been dropped recently, he has a 7-page dossier where he confirms that nobody knew about his carnal activities, which to an extent makes sense, because when people are doing unacceptable things in a carnal manner, they're usually not broadcasting it. But there is a sort of, the whole situation has taken on a life of its own, and there are all sorts of expectations. So everybody had to know everything. Because we know a lot now, a lot of people presume that because we know it now, that everybody knew it at the time. But most of the evidence suggests that very few people knew of what was going on. But that's in terms of the carnal business. But in terms of the misconduct in public life, it's based on a very few emails that Andrew sent to Epstein. And Andrew, everybody knows, is really rather stupid. And everybody also knows that Andrew's a bit of a buffoon, and that Andrew was sucking up to Epstein because Fergie was effectively had her hand out to Epstein the whole time. I mean, she said she was on $15,000, and I think the press said that she was on 2.1 million. But a friend of mine who's a close friend through maritally of Prince Andrew's, as he used to be, says that in fact the figure that she heard was $12 million, not $2 million, which seems perfectly reasonable if you examine what the emails between Sarah and Epstein. She always had her hand out to him, and he started to reel her in. But whether it was 2 million or 12 million, I mean, that is a strong incentive for Andrew to have actually curried favor with Epstein. And I'm not excusing it. I'm simply trying to put it in its proper context. And I really think that the severity with which he has been treated, compared to the laxity with which Clinton and all of the others have been treated, it should give us pause for thought.
Lady C, I have a feeling we're going to disagree on this one, but that's why we should discuss it. The pressure over the line of succession. And this is really growing now. Indeed, the Sunday Times reported over the weekend that Prince William has been advocating since last year that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor should be removed. BBC stalwart Jenny Bond saying that's the right thing too. And our mutual friend, according to Taz, posting this week, I'm with Jenny Bond on this one. Of course, Andrew should be removed from the line of succession. Personally, I think they should also remove Harry and his children, plus Beatrice, Eugenie and their children from the line of succession. Lady C, I understand the importance of hereditary monarchy in so many ways. And indeed, next week, I'm going to host a big debate on this, a big clash on this between Rafe Hadel-Manku, the royal historian and constitutional expert, and Anna May Mangan. Now, Rafe says, absolutely not. You cannot touch the line of succession. This is madness. But William, as part of his modernisation project, Lady C, likes this idea of connecting royal roles, which would be HRH titles, places in the line of succession with royal duties. So if you are a full-time royal, working full-time, you get the grace and favour palace or apartment, whatever it happens to be, and you get your place in the line of succession. Now, I actually think, Lady C, that would be very popular, because what you would instantly do is remove that grifter Harry. You'd remove his two children, you'd remove Andrew, you'd remove Beatrice and Eugenie, and who would be moved up the line of succession? Well, the likes of Princess Anne and Prince Edward. I think it makes sense. Are you horrified?
Dan, we live in a society that is supposed to live by rule of law.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to start to live by rule of public opinion, and the baying of the masses for blood whenever the press whips them up into something. So maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. That's not the point. The point is the principle. Are we going to end up having our heads of state determined by the baying of the masses for blood after they are whipped up by the press? I'm sorry, it is so unsound in terms of ethics and politics. There is, you know, let's remember, there have been many scenarios in the past. I'll use the McCarthy era in the United States of America in the early 50s as an example, where Reds under the bed, people were accused, people had to flee, people were not allowed to work because they were suspected of being communists. And this went on for years, and many lives and many careers were destroyed. We, funnily enough, in the United Kingdom, hosted a lot of the artists and the directors and the authors who fled that witch hunt at the time. But are we now going to have our monarchy controlled by the whims of the public? Because it's not the whims of the public, it's the whims of the press, and it's the whims of the journalists, and it's the whims of the commentators, who half the time don't know what they're speaking about, and the other half don't have sufficient responsibility to actually understand the consequences of what they are recommending. So no, I think it is an absolutely appalling idea. I think any major decision should never be taken in the heat of the moment if you can possibly avoid it. And tampering with the line of succession, first of all, I think Andrew should renounce his rights to the line of succession. I think that whether he is as guilty as people seem to believe he is, or as innocent as he thinks he is beside the point. He is totally sullied, and his reputation is completely destroyed, in part because of his own bad behavior. So let's be clear about the fact that Andrew's bad behavior has got him into the mess that he is in. Whether it is a bigger mess than it should be or not is beside the point. I'm now speaking in purely moralistic and ethical terms. So Andrew has responsibility for his actions, and he should actually renounce, and I've recommended this before, I think he should renounce his rights of succession in the interest of the monarchy generally. I think the pile-on with his two daughters is quite frankly disgraceful, and I think that it is untoward, and I think that it is unacceptable, and I think that it is very class-driven and riven with envy, because they were very young at the time, and you have on the one hand certain commentators decrying their conduct at 19 and 20 because they are royal, they should be responsible, but a 27 or a 32-year-old or a 24-year-old victim had no idea that for years the hundreds of thousands of dollars they were taking from Epstein was dirty money. I'm sorry. It's, there needs to be some consistency. And as for Harry and his children, that's another matter altogether. Because Harry has attacked the institution of the monarchy. Harry has lied against, very seriously, he and Meghan have lied against the King and the Princess of Wales and accused them of racism. Harry, and this is very serious for the head of the Commonwealth to be accused of racism. And now I speak as a Jamaican, and I know of the tremendous problems that Harry and Meghan's race accusations caused throughout the Commonwealth, most of whose countries are people of color. So that alone is a valid reason for requiring Harry to stand down. So, because Harry has attacked.
Yeah, and that's the way that you would deal with that.
The last royal dukes who attacked the British crown were stripped of their titles. The Duke of Cumberland, the Duke of Albany, and I forget which other duke. They were stripped of their royal dukedoms and their princely rank
King Charles has publicly addressed his health in recent years, including routine checkups and medical treatments. Some reports suggest he may be dealing with cancer, but the royal family traditionally keeps details about personal health private. This has led to speculation in the media about the severity of his condition. Royal commentators often use dramatic phrases like secret cancer fight to describe private health matters. While such claims attract public attention, it is important to remember that there is no official confirmation of the king's condition beyond statements released by the royal family. As Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine are already expected to play a leading role in royal duties. The video likely suggests that they are stepping up to handle more responsibilities, possibly in anticipation of King Charles needing additional support due to health concerns. Stories about a monarch's health often provoke widespread public interest and concern. Commentators debate whether the royal family should provide more transparency, or whether privacy should be maintained to protect the king and the institution. Speculation about the king's health naturally raises questions about succession and the monarchy's future. Some media outlets suggest that William may gradually assume more duties or public appearances, preparing for eventual leadership of the monarchy. The video likely touches on the internal dynamics of the royal family, including how senior members coordinate responsibilities when the monarch's health is in question. This includes balancing public appearances, charitable initiatives, and the smooth running of royal institutions. It's important to view such stories in context. The royal family has a long history of keeping private matters discreet, and media speculation often amplifies normal events into dramatic narratives. While King Charles's health is naturally a matter of public interest, the details remain largely private. Ultimately, the discussion surrounding King Charles's health highlights ongoing public interest in the monarchy and the future roles of William and Catherine. Whether the king's condition is serious or being carefully managed, the video frames this as part of a broader narrative about succession, continuity, and royal responsibility. What do you think about the reports concerning King Charles's health and the increasing visibility of Prince William and Princess Catherine? Do you believe the royal family should disclose more, or is maintaining privacy the right choice? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more royal news and analysis.